Welcome back, everyone. So today I'm going to try something a little different. I'm going to use this as a reference photo, but one thing I'm going to try to do, and this is something I used to do and something I want you to try to do, is look at the photo here and squint. What do you see when you do that? What are the main colors that show through? I mean, obviously it's orange, blue, and green, but this is a really easy way of figuring out the baseline color without all the detail kind of getting in the way. So what I'm going to do is, on one of my bigger canvases, the 16 by 20s, I'm going to take the very top portion, right around here, and I'm just going to paint it by itself till it's done, and then go to this, the distant mountains, paint this till it's done, and then work on all the greens here until they're done, because it's the foreground, middle ground, background, right? So what I'm going to try to do is make this as fast and simple as possible by doing the main big parts of the color and then just adding in all the details on top of it, which, you know, sounds normal, but for me, I tend to take a really long time to do simple things. So let's try to make it simple and easy. So just started with a little bit of this light orange color, just blending it in across the canvas. I did wet it down beforehand, well, before you know, off screen, but one thing I did here is I added a little too much green, and I think in the end I should have probably added a little bit less green and a little bit more of this like faded white blue color. Now that green came about by mixing blue and yellow and white together, but in the end, I mean, I ended up blending it together a little bit better. And according to the photo, it's lighter on the left-hand side, so just adding in different layers of brighter and brighter paint, and then darker orange towards the bottom where it fades. And the clouds on this are quite simple once I start doing them here. They're just mixtures of orange and red and a little bit of yellow in there to try to give that like dusky, well, you know, the dusky color of clouds during a sunset. So just dabbing it on here with a little round brush. It was the first time I've actually used that brush. I had a little pack of round ones, so I figured, hey, you know what, I want to try to use it, see how well it turns out. I don't think it worked as well as I wanted it to, but the effect in the end turned out. I find one of the more interesting things about painting sky at certain times of the day is that it's either in the morning or closer towards nighttime where you start getting these interesting gradients of color. It'll go from like white to yellows to blues, or to greens and blues, and then finally to like dark blues and blacks if you're really trying to do like a full gradient color. Obviously that wouldn't be realistic, but instead of just like midday where it's just white to blue. Alright, so now I'm going to start painting in the distant mountain range. Because of the way the photo looks, all it is this blue color. I didn't really have to do any extra texturing on it. Over the course of the painting, it's just paint in blue, and then use white and a mixture of the blue to fade up from you know, brightest, like a misty area. So bright, misty lowlands to darker, more emphasized highlands, which you'll see in a little bit. See, this was the tricky part because I wasn't painting in like the tops of these little, these like mountain ranges or these hills, whatever these are, with all these trees on them, the distant trees. I wasn't painting in the tops of them using the blue color. I literally just painted the blue color. So what I was doing as I was going back through with this mixture of white and blue to emphasize the highlights fading up into them. So it was almost like reverse painting, I guess, in a way. I mean, it's painting, so it doesn't really matter which way you do it, I guess. And if you mess it up, you just repaint over it. But in this case, to me, it felt like more I was like reverse painting. You know, instead of doing the darks and going to lights, I was going to lights, going to the darks. Well, technically, I'd already done the darks, but you know what I mean. If that makes any sense. And here was just a simple matter of using the little, what was that, inch brush, and then just basically scraping upward with some of that blue to emphasize and to give a little bit more detail to what was going on there in that particular nearer ridge, to make it look like there's actual trees sticking up. And just obviously needed to add a little bit more paint here because of the way the photo looks. There's the blue goes down a little bit farther. So here, just adding a little bit of highlights with a more lighter mixture of that blue and white. Just kind of dabbing it in, or kind of dabbing it in and then scraping up slightly with like a weird flicking motion. All right, so the next part I gotta do is start working on the greens, right there. There's a lot of complicated textures in there, so I'm gonna have to really be careful on how I do this, right? Because the fade up of the hills doesn't exactly look perfect, but it's all, I mean, it looks good enough to pass for you know what it is, at least for my skill level. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna let this dry. And then I'm going to go off and start doing the greens. I'm probably going to start with the really dark, this really dark green here. And do like the base coat, kind of like I did with the hills here, that really dark, I think it's mountain blue color, yeah. I'll start with this, and then I'll just start fading up with brighter colors and just try to add all the textures in. So I think, you know, over the course of my time painting, I've learned that, and I think I said this in one of the last painting videos, the art of reduction really helps in speeding up your painting time and making the painting look a little bit, I guess, maybe better or more natural, or just like maybe more like it flows better, because you're not spending so much time in every single tiny detail that doesn't ultimately matter because you're going to get it covered up. You know, this is one of the reasons I decided to do the painting this way, with all these big gradient colors. Well, not even gradient colors, just the big splotchy background colors that underline all the rest of them. You know, I think in the end it sped this up a lot more. I think I might start doing this more often because it is so much faster and it is so much more efficient. Anyway, here I'm just taking a mixture of this really dark well, that green color you see, and then mixing it with some black, and then dabbing in with some of my little kitty brushes to make pine trees. And then using a little bit of black to paint the trunk going up. And then just continuing with it to give a little bit more definition, some deeper, or some darker foliage and trees. And just continuing it here. And it's just layer upon layer of different colors of paint, starting from, well, I think this is going off of what I said earlier, like, I think I'm going to start doing, maybe I should start doing mid-tone paintings, like using the mid-tone color. Because right now you see this darker green here that's covering most of the green section. It's not the brightest, it's not the darkest, because I'm definitely using a darker color to do like pine trees. But maybe I should start doing that more, because then it gives me a baseline to go off of. I can go darker or go lighter. I mean, it definitely made this painting easier. I don't know, well, I'll have to see how it works out. There's really not much more I can say about what I'm doing here. I'm literally just, I'm using the photo as a reference, and I'm just dabbing on and splotching on different shades of this green color to try to emphasize the shadows and the light areas. Yeah, it's just, I'm going real loose with it. I'm not really trying to be super specific. And just in the end, if it looks right, that's what matters. And I will say, painting this one has really helped with me figuring out how to paint, well, something like this a little bit better, and just varying types of foliage, and just trying to make it look more like it's realistic. And the next painting I have in mind, which is going to be something the wife's asked for a while, something to do with Winnie the Pooh, is definitely going to emphasize some of the things I learned in this painting. I don't know, I may or may not reference it, or this one, or reference back to this one, but you know, the lessons are still learned, and they'll be used in the future for future paintings, and hopefully I'll just use them and get better. And someone asked me why I always put like a note in for like the music. Well, I mean, the music that I feature in my videos, well, the reason is like I don't own it, you know. And if I don't own it and I'm putting it in a video, I want the owner or the creator of the music to get all the credit for it. So I put it in the videos themselves, I put it in the description, and I link it to their SoundCloud or whatever else I can find that, you know, where I got the music from. So that way they get all the credit, and they get, well, everybody coming to see their music, because they're the ones who went through the trouble to make it. So they should be the ones getting all the credit for that. Just like, you know, for like my paintings, I'd like someone to give me the credit for doing mine. I know maybe that sounds a little bit stuck up or conceited, but hey, I did the work, you know. So I'm just trying to give back a little bit, you know, to the artists who make the music in my videos. And one thing I could say is that the house is filled with paintings now, and I'm not really sure what to do with them all. So I'm contemplating, do I want to do like a giveaway? Do I want to have like a contest, or just want to just send them to like family or friends or something? So, I mean, if any of you all have any suggestions, hey, put them in the comment section below. And I know if you had paid attention to the photo in the beginning of the video, that this little bit of foliage here, kind of in the middle central area, doesn't look the same as in the photo. Well, the reason for that is it's too gray, it's too washed out with color, and there's too much there, you know, at least for me. So I figured, hey, I might as well just, you know, kind of make it look like the rest of it. I mean, I probably should have actually just painted what I saw in the photo, but here it just made it a little bit easier, a little bit faster to just kind of match the green central area with the rest of it. See, this I'm not sure what was in the photo. It's like these, I don't know, sticks or branches or parts of the little tree or something sticking up out of there. So that's what I was trying to do here. I ended up painting over some areas I didn't want to paint over, but ended up going in and just fixing it. So I realized here, at least this next part, is that the clouds, I needed to add a little bit more of them, and especially towards the bottom, because it just looked like they were way too close. So I added a little bit more to the bottom, and it made it look a little bit more distant, which is what it's supposed to. Anyway, I appreciate you all for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe, comment, all that. It helps me out, helps keep the wife happy, since this is all for her, literally. Yeah, I'll see you all in the next one. Have a good one. Bye.